Hello friends, Tim here again with another quick video game countdown type thing. Video games are one of the best forms of interactive entertainment around, and it's only natural for the plots to become more interactive by allowing players to make some game-changing decisions, or at least to make them feel like their choices matter. Recently, more games have been using this in their plots, and making choices in games is becoming increasingly common. Not all of them are that easy to make though, so here are 10 of the most difficult game decisions so far. Number 10. Life is Strange, the final choice. Life is Strange is filled with choices that influence the storyline, so it shouldn't be of any surprise that the ending you get is based on your final choice. While Max may have the ability to turn back time, there is no changing this final decision, so instead the player must deal with the consequences as a result of that choice. This is a pretty classic choice in video games. Save a popular character, or stop a natural disaster and save hundreds of people. Number 9. Metal Gear Solid 1, the torture scene. Metal Gear Solid has some pretty unique choices, which blends physical action with the storyline. The player must button mash if they want to survive the torture, or they could just give up. Giving up the information will kill Meryl, but to save her the player must go through several rounds of frantic button pressing, and for some people this can be quite painful. This scene can literally be torture for some players. Number 8. Walking Dead, Lee's Arm. Telltale's Walking Dead series is filled with difficult moral decisions, but this is probably the most memorable. After being bitten on the arm by a zombie, Lee must decide what to do as his condition begins to worsen. Cut it off and maybe get some extra time, or just carry on and hope he has enough time left to get the job done. Whatever the player chooses doesn't have that much of an impact on the game, but it's still a pretty chilling moment. Number 7. Heavy Rain, the Poison. Heavy Rain is full of tough decisions as the player must frantically try to keep their characters alive, try to find the origami killer, and to save the life of Ethan's son, Sean. The final trial is much more difficult to decide on, however. Ethan must decide between his life or the life of his son. If he does not drink the deadly poison, then he will not be given the location of where his son is, but drinking it will kill him in 60 minutes. It's a difficult decision to make, and Heavy Rain is composed around tough decisions like this one. Number 6. Bioshock, Harvest or Rescue Little Sisters. Adam is vital in Bioshock. It's used to upgrade the character's ability, and it is gained from the little sisters found in game. It gives the player a difficult choice: harvest the full amount from the little sister, or rescue her for a smaller amount. Rescuing them does give the player a bonus amount of Adam for rescuing 3 of them, but the player still gets less Adam overall. Kill the children for more points or rescue them for less. It's a difficult decision for any player to make. Number 5. The Witcher 2, Lorveth or Roach. Some games make it difficult to tell which choices will change the game, and The Witcher 2 is full of these. The Lorveth or Roach choice completely changes the game, depending on which one the player chooses. The decision forces the player to choose between the person who helped you and someone who has dealt with discrimination and aims to make the world a better place. The build up to this only makes deciding much more difficult, and whatever one the player chooses here will change the rest of the game. Number 4. Infamous, Save the Girlfriend or the Doctors. Infamous uses an always moving good and evil scale, and the game offers players plenty of chances to change their moral alliances in-game. But one moment stands out above all others. The player is given a choice between saving their girlfriend or rescuing 6 doctors who can cure the pandemic. It forces the player to choose between the greater good or themselves. The game even punishes the player if they choose to save their girlfriend. It's a pretty brutal decision and a very memorable one. Number 3. Mass Effect, Save the Rachni or drive them to extinction. While this decision doesn't have too much of an impact of the game in this series, it's a heart-wrenching choice. When the Ranchi were first discovered, they were labelled as a hostile race, which sparked the galactic war. As a result, the species was left critically endangered. The player comes into contact with the last queen and must decide between letting her live or wiping out the last remnants of a sentient species. It asks if the player will risk the galaxy for one species. It's a heart-wrenching and brutal decision to make. Number 2. Fable 2, The Ending. The story mode of Fable 2 has a final decision to it. The player can select one of 3 choices which will determine the end of the game. The player can wish for sacrifice, love, or wealth, which allows the player to save the city, save their family, or become incredibly rich. Each choice leads to a different ending, however saving the city will not return your family back to life. It doesn't even bring your dog back to life. Save the city, save the family, and the dog, or become filthy rich. No matter what the player chooses, the player must live with their consequences. Number 1. Spec Ops: The Line, White Phosphorus. This was probably one of the most disturbing scenes in recent video games history, and there was no way to realise its consequences before agreeing to it. At a point in the game, the player will run through a large area filled with enemies, and cleaning a path through the area using traditional means is incredibly difficult. There is another option, however: dropping white phosphorus bombs on the enemy from a plane using a heat cam. Not all of the people in the area are enemies, some are hostages. Walking through the resulting devastation is pretty disturbing, and the player is forced to make one of the most difficult choices in video games. How much would they sacrifice to get through a level easier? Previously on Mario Mayhem. What do you think the scariest video game boss would be? Today the Luigi clap goes to Shrek for this giant spider idea. It seems fitting as I hear old Shrek once got attacked by a giant spider and it stole his Nintendo. So that's pretty good as well as this comment. And today we will leave you with the question, what do you think the hardest video game decision would be? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and the best, most creative answer will be featured in one of our next videos. And that's it for today, friends. I hope you enjoyed these difficult video game decisions and things. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with your friends, keep those comments and likes coming, and I'll catch you soon.